Hi everyone, it's Harmony Reads, episode 15. We've got an action-packed episode for you today.
Okay.
Nothing like a good snowstorm to get the reading all done and caught up.
Yes, indeed.
So we're going to talk a lot. Actually, when I did the description for the last one, we had talked about 10 books.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we were a little voracious. I think we were voracious all the time then.
I was going to say, we should be keeping track, but I think that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, it's like we're recording it for posterity. So anyway, we have, I think we've got a couple really good discussions that are going to happen here. So for the first time ever on the Harmony Reads podcast, we've had, the second time we've been rereading. So, 2 of us have read Moby Dick, and 2 of us have read The Spoon Stealer.
Oh, okay.
And
you are the great influencer.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, anyway, so we have finished books because we had in case you didn't know, we had a big snowstorm, so that allowed some people time to have a pile of books in front of them that you can barely see over. And then Simone, you finished up a couple books, I guess.
Just one, yeah.
Just the one. Okay.
Yeah.
And the other ones we're not going to talk about because it's just more of the same.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's start with Moby Dick.
Okay.
Because you finished it.
I did.
And we don't really want to talk about it. So it'll be a fast discussion.
Yeah.
Were there any surprises for you?
No.
Okay. So it all came back.
Yep.
Okay. So that's done.
Yep.
So I'm reading a new book that's this size. I think that's what they could have done.
To tell you the truth, yeah. One of our viewers commented that it could be a 50-page novella or something
Short
to that
story,
extent.
she said.
Yeah, and yes, if you want to get right to the heart of the matter,
yeah,
it could very well be shortened up.
Yeah.
But
that's not why we read it.
Appreciated all the backstory because whaling is not something that's within my purview.
Right.
Yeah.
So you don't regret rereading it?
No.
And I don't regret reading. That's all we're going to say about it. Okay. So then the next thing that we're going to talk about is the book that I finished, and then I passed on to Betsy,
okay.
And Betsy already has it done too. So that's
not quite.
Yeah. So that's The Spoon Stealer by Lesley Crewe.
Yeah. So I'm almost there. I looked at the clock last night and went, I'm already an hour past bedtime. I could probably have it done in another hour. And I was like, no, don't do that. Because I can do that sometimes with books if they're really good, but then you plow so fast through the end that you kind of miss it.
Yeah, you don't save it.
Yeah.
So I went on and on and on about The Spoon Stealer and how I loved it. And so now that you've gone quite far, but there's still a couple twists to come in that little bit.
All right.
Okay, so you'll get that. But we both were discussing this morning, Emmeline is the main character, that we all want to be Emmeline.
I met friends
in
this book.
Yeah.
Finally. It's been a while since I've read a book where I found some book friends. I really appreciate Emmeline's outlook on life and her positivity despite all of the challenges she's faced. So her positivity is definitely, I've heard you use this term, toxic positivity, which I've never tried out before, but it's definitely not that. She has what I would say is a truly earned perspective of gratitude and trying to help people see what is still good in their life. And she's earned it through some significant experiences of loss and difficulty. And I think she spends her whole life growing up feeling out of place.
Yes.
So she knows about trying to find home and what home is and who home is and how that all works. So I really liked it. I said to Kim when I came in this morning, I think I'd like to grow up to be Emmeline. And then I had to laugh and say, actually, I think I spent a significant amount of years trying not to be an Emmeline. Just mainly looking at other people's lives and going, oh, I know how you should fix that.
Yeah, right.
So it is really good. And I will be looking up more Lesley Crewe books.
Yes.
I also read this with a feeling of like, maybe I can almost become a maritimer. I was looking for hints of like, what will, because I love the whole community of it in one sense. The rural, maybe part of it too, I think, is there are similarities in many small rural communities throughout Canada. Yes, there are things that make a maritime community a community. There are things that make an out west community. There would have their differences, but there are also a lot of similarities to being in a rural Canadian community. And
and I have to say that because I actually used to live in close by to where the story is a farm on the outskirts of New Glasgow.
She drops Pictou County at one point.
Yeah, exactly, in Pictou County. Yep. So our paper just fell. It's okay. We don't need it. Anyway, so I actually spent time like between, I don't know, I started school in grade 4. We moved from Halifax. Well, no, I started school in Stellarton, and then I lived in Pictou, and my mom worked in New Glasgow and stuff. So there is a bit of a kick to be reading something that's really like a close, but and really well written, and really like it does have a different kind of feeling. I could picture places that she talked about.
Absolutely made me want to live on a farm and grow things and have animals.
Yeah. So, and there's actually a sheep farm that's talked about in the book too.
Mentioned.
So, yeah, exactly. So it was really funny because there's their whole knitting with or crafting with wool part of it as well, which was really funny.
Which led me into, I actually stopped the book last night and said, Matthew, there is a significant event or item that we need to purchase if we are going to call our house a maritime home. And he was like, what are you talking about? I said, we have to go and pick out a hand-hooked rug that we hang on the wall.
Yeah.
Nobody's stepping on it. Yeah. That is a picture that somehow connects with us and our heart and our home.
So true.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So just the way she talked about it, I've been to the festival here last year and saw some of the hooked rugs and had my mind blown. And now I'm like, and now I want one.
Yeah.
You do. I just do. Because I think that will just, it's like having a hand quilted quilt on a bed at home is to have the hooked rug on the wall here.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah. At one point she actually picks out as gifts for individuals rugs that had something to do with each of them. And I just found that part super touching. Exactly. So I'm really enjoying it. I have a feeling there's still more to come, like you said. But she
ties up all the loose ends. Like there's no, it's not that, so she ties up all the loose ends.
I have to admit, I have been significantly worried that she is not going to make it back to England.
Oh.
She does have some health concerns going on. And so that right now is my biggest concern. She's been home in Canada for a while.
Yeah, so Betsy's not really giving anything away because it is her memoir. It all starts with her memoir. So it's all,
and I can say, we know she's living in England when it starts. She comes home to Canada, which is where she grew up, and she's planning it to be a visit. So I hope she makes it back. So anyway, I have a couple more chapters to go. I will enjoy them, and I will be looking up more Lesley Crewe. What are you laughing at?
Nothing. I'm just like so tempted to say.
No.
I'm not going to
say on to the next one. I don't want to spoil anything. I actually said to Matthew, I was like, I feel like I should finish this book so Kim can't spoil it.
No. I'm not going to spoil it because it's really, there's, like I said, there's twists and you need to, that's the end. Because I actually found that when she was reading her memoirs as part of the group that she was in, how the whole thing starts, like that's on the first page or second page or whatever. Then she's not reading her memoir anymore. Right. And I kind of missed the memoir reading. And I thought it was just a little bit, I'm not going to say, it changed direction a little bit. So it was a little bit different kind of rhythm.
That's right, because you told me, you had said, when you get in the middle it lulls. But I've actually quite enjoyed the middle part as well.
Yeah.
She does a lot. She goes home and does a lot with different family members.
Right.
And I don't know, I really kind of liked that part.
Did you?
Yeah. And it was also building up to all being like perfect and happy. And then I liked that it turned into real life again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, but then for me, it just kind of swings again.
Okay.
It's different again. So I guess, that's 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Right. Are you going to read it?
I would like to read it,
yeah. Okay.
But I don't mind about spoilers at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so Lesley Crewe makes you feel...
Well, we're not going to spoil it for people that want to read
that's
it.
Right. Yeah.
Makes you feel grateful and appreciative of being Canadian. She makes you feel like you want to adventure and see the world in a wider scope. You
Right.
don't just want to stay in the small area.
Yeah.
She makes you appreciate family, but she also makes you go, oh, okay, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Family doesn't run so smooth all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
So she just has this way of encompassing a lot of things that I'm connecting with.
The tendency to underestimate people that you shouldn't, you don't really know what's going on in their lives. And she was a little bit of an outsider, but yet she really was a cog in so many people's lives.
I think I can say, without giving it away too much, but kind of her mantra in life that she goes through with is that a spoonful of kindness will do a world of difference. And everybody out there needs a spoonful of kindness.
Yeah. And you find out at the very beginning that's why her affinity to spoons is about a spoonful of kindness.
Yeah.
Right? So just as an aside, this could be something that you need to be a caution about this book, is that I actually went out, we went out to dinner or for lunch the other day, and there was the cutest little spoon that
She's going to say something like that.
And I was like, I said to Ken, I really want that spoon. And he was like,
Ken's going to have to stand at the door.
Turn you upside down and shake you and leave her.
Or tell her, like, turn out your pockets.
Yeah. Anyway, I didn't take it because I know that it wasn't.
You could absolutely go to secondhand stores and start collecting spoons.
Yes.
Because there are definitely cute little spoons.
Yeah.
all over.
But I was like, oh. No.
That's not what I was
Overcome
aspiring
the
to grow up.
temptation. Overcome the temptation.
I did. I sincerely, I did.
Yeah, I did. I will also say, without giving away too much, there are some very difficult relationships in here. So if you've had some really difficult family relationships and have maybe faced some really dark times with your family, it might not be exactly for you. There's a lot of humor in it, but there's also some very dark thematic content in here as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm enjoying it. I'm definitely going looking for more by Lesley Crewe, and I'm delighted that she's
I just got
Canadian.
another one, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I have it, but I'm not reading that one yet.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
Sounds good. Tell us later.
Yeah, we'll tell you later.
Should I just finish up this one? Okay.
Yeah.
So the night stages, I have spent the last 2 weeks feeling embarrassed.
You're so funny.
Kim asked me, what are the night stages? And I made up this like confident sounding answer. Wrong. I was wrong. So I was like, the people out there that have read it are going to think, has she even read this book?
What book is she reading?
Oh, so this is The Night Stages by Jane Urquhart. It's the multi-story, we'll call it. There's about 5 different stories that you follow through on this one throughout, mainly through Ireland. And the one is the lady reminiscing in the Gander airport in Newfoundland. Mm-hmm. She's grounded by fog and has a chance to just kind of review her life and life choices. So the night stages, that's the part I'll clarify, is in the very end, the 2 of the brothers end up cycling in the same bike race that happens through Ireland, through multiple counties, multiple towns, up and down the mountains in Ireland. And the night stages are the stage of the race that happens in the evening. So they bike during the day, but then of course they get to rest, and they either billet at locals' houses or they often spend a significant amount of time in the pub.
Yeah.
So the night stages refers to that portion of the race, which I kind of knew the race was coming. What I wasn't sure was who was going to be in it and how it was going to all connect in the end. And I won't give away exactly what it is, but that's where you learn how these 2 brothers have become so estranged.
Oh, okay.
And this race has a lot to do with it. Mm-hmm. It's not the exact thing, but a lot happens during that race to kind of antagonize that estrangement. So that is what the night stages are. Nothing to do with the mural on the wall, which is actually, I believe, I looked into it. It is based on a mural that is, in fact, on the airport wall. I don't know if it's still there today.
Is Jane Urquhart Canadian?
She is.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I know. We're just like Canadian novelists all over the place.
Yeah, exactly.
She is. Yeah.
I was actually feeling, because the new book that I started, I just picked it up randomly, and she's also Canadian.
I don't know what's going on. It's great.
I know. And I was quietly musing to myself all the way home from the bookstore, and I was like, wow, we have a lot of really talented.
I also find, I don't want to sound too like, I feel as though out here on PEI, the bookstores are doing a really good job of making sure that the Canadian authors are kind of up front. You know, where they often put out the new picks, or that when you walk into a store, what you're going to see first. I have found that several of the bookstores that I frequent regularly make sure those Canadian authors are up front. They usually have the PEI section right up front. And then they have the Canadian authors.
But they,
as well.
this one was just in the, because I went to the section where it was just authors by
Alphabetical order.
So alphabetical order. So they were all there. And and this was one, and then I looked and I thought, oh, another Canadian author. Yeah.
Oh, so just by way of like closing this one up, betrayal all through the whole thing. Lots of, it's a kind of a memoir idea. Sort of everyone is reminiscing, and everyone, you've got a present and you've got a past, and you're bouncing back and forth between the two. So I really liked it. But like I said before, a little bit more of an artistic read. So just
the language
is just a little bit more, less of a sort of storytelling, and there's a bit more artistry to it. But that's, So that was that one.
Okay. So do you want to go?
Sure.
Simone?
I'm going to break the chain because I'm not reading Canadian books.
It's okay. We forgive you.
I do read a lot of Canadian books, but upon the suggestion of one of our viewers, thank you very much, I started reading The Count of Monte Cristo. And I am 19 chapters in, and I am hooked.
It's good.
Oh.
It is so good.
Okay. I've never read it.
Yeah.
Oh. Like, I've got goosebumps. It's so good. So good.
Just remind me, because it was a long time ago that I read it. Does it start out, or is it fairly close to the beginning, there's a duel?
There's the threat of a duel.
Okay, so I am thinking the right book. That's all I wanted to know.
So it starts out with first mate on a ship. The captain dies. He brings it in to Marseille.
Okay.
And there's a character on the boat that doesn't think much of Dante's, the main character.
Oh.
And they decide at basically a bar or a wine house, he and Dante's neighbor, and then another character that loves the person that's engaged to Dante's, that they're going to get rid of him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this, yes.
Yeah. So
I do remember. Okay.
they end up accusing him of being in cahoots with Napoleon, and he gets thrown in the Chateau d'If, which is a prison on an island that people don't come out of. Yeah, it's reserved for like the worst political prisoners outside of Napoleon, who's, exiled on Elba.
So is this a book that is fiction but ties in actual historical events?
There
too?
are
And it would
historic
fall into
aspects.
classical literature.
Yeah.
It's a classical book. Yeah.
Because at the portion that I'm reading right now, he's with the Abbey. The Abbey is another prisoner, and he's managed to tunnel through, and they can visit each other in their cells, and they're planning escape.
Remembering
it's so good.
Okay, I might have to reread this.
He's with the Abbey right now. Actually, I'm a little bit further than this point, but anyway, he's with the Abbey right now, and he's going through the history of the treasure that's supposedly buried.
Oh, okay. This book is like...
It's a beast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
there
huge.
is so much in this book.
Yeah.
It's by Alexandre Dumas, so the person that wrote The Three Musketeers and The Man in the Iron Mask. So he doesn't write small books.
No.
I'm going to be reading this one for a while.
I think I've read not The Man in the Iron Mask. I should read that one too.
Yeah.
I think what got me into it is several years ago now, time. They did movies with The Man in the Iron Mask.
Right.
They did The Count of Monte Cristo, and I think those sort of introduced me to the story, and I was like, I want more.
Yeah.
So,
So he's at the point now where he's talking to the Abbey, and the Abbey is confessing. Everybody thinks the Abbey is crazy because he keeps like trying to bribe all the turnkeys and saying, I'll give you this many, francs or this much gold or, what have you, if you let me go, kind of deal. And they all think he's nuts because they're like, he has nothing. So it turns out that the Abbey is a genius, and he's, he's a very learned man, and he creates all of these things from nothing. So he makes like a knife and a needle out of a fishbone,
Oh,
and he ends
like
up
the
using
very first MacGyver.
yes,
Oh,
yes, he's absolutely amazing, and he starts teaching Dante's like French and Italian, or not French, but Italian and Spanish, and all these other languages, and educating him in math and science. So because they've got nothing but time.
Oh.
So he's telling him about the island of Monte Cristo where this treasure is supposedly buried, and he's giving the history of it, and it goes all the way back to Pope Alexander VI and Cesare Borgia, and how they were in need of money and all these like crazy things that happened. So I'm absolutely hooked.
I was going to say, I think you're enjoying it.
I'm really enjoying it because I read a couple of books that touched on the Borgias, and wow, they were nuts. Yeah. So yeah, I can't stop reading it. I'm lucky I got any knitting done this week.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah. Because I just wanted to keep reading the book.
So you'd never read this one before?
No.
No.
I had picked it up.
Like an abridged?
Yes.
Okay.
And I started to read it, but whenever I found out that it was shortened up, it was like a Reader's Digest condensed version.
Right.
Yeah.
I put it away because I'm like, no, I actually want the whole story.
Right.
It's funny too, because I think when I first picked it up, I kind of picked it up with a bit of that, like, I think this is a man's book.
Oh,
and I was a
okay.
bit like, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I liked the movie, but we'll see. But I totally got pulled into the
There's
world.
action and adventure and intrigue. And,
fun.
he develops a vengeance because with the Abbey's help, he discovers why he's in the Chateau d'If
Yeah.
and who caused
Who
this.
put him there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
good.
I have a feeling that, there's going to be some comeuppance in the future.
Well, that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you think of like the Three Musketeers, right?
Yeah.
Same guy who wrote that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
It's a genre.
you hardly get moments to breathe.
Yeah.
So even though they're in a prison and they've been there for like a decade, it's still action packed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
When was that written?
I can't tell you.
well, it would be post Napoleon.
Yeah.
Yeah. What, like 1900s or 1800s?
No, earlier.
Oh,
Earlier.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mid to late 18.
Well, we'll find out.
Maybe.
This will be the
Yeah,
point
not
where
late.
No.
I don't
Because
know.
that's more.
We'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Industrial Revolution.
Or I'm going to say
Yeah.
something silly again and spend 2
Yeah.
weeks feeling like, why did I put that?
We'll just have to Google it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is where I asked Simone a question, and she says, "I don't know. I'm just going to Google it." I said, well, I could have Googled it, but I thought I don't know.
We actually had a bit of a running joke for a while where I was calling my husband Google Matt.
Oh,
Because I
okay.
would do that to him all the time. Because I
She
would
does
just
that to me,
expect him
too.
to know.
I do it. Yeah,
I'd be like, why don't you just know this?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we do.
So, yeah, so I would say, Google Matt, can you tell me?
Yeah, and then she just willingly. Well, I'm gonna Google it, and now Ken's caught it because he's been Googling everything.
Yes,
so-
I think this is what you and I both were curious, but we also have limited time to to actually do it.
just easier to ask somebody else. Yeah. Anyway, I started to feel guilty because then I said, well, and then she actually sometimes she had to go get her phone. I said, oh, okay, wait.
It sounds so much like home.
Anyway.
Well, and he'll seriously be looking around for his phone, and mine is sitting right there.
Yeah,
Anyway,
right.
I'm knitting. My hands are busy.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so that sounds intriguing.
it is. And I can't remember the person's name that recommended it, but thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really,
Oh, good.
really enjoying
This
it.
is what's so great about
Yeah.
this. The whole thing is that. Okay. So for something completely different.
Yep.
Okay.
So I know I should have gone to the library, and I still feel guilty about the fact that I don't know if this is some kind of dragon sickness or whatever, but I have to own the books.
Oh, I don't think that's a bad thing. The library is great for accessibility,
Yeah.
but we also want people to keep writing.
Yeah, I
In
know.
order for that to happen,
Yeah.
we have to support them as well.
Yes.
So
I
I'm all for that too.
actually was in town and waiting. I explained in the other podcast that I was there waiting for Ken, and he was going to drop me off. I said, "Drop me off at the library. I'm going to sign up for a library card, and I'll actually get a book for." And then I looked and said, "Oh, it's closed yet. Well, I'll have to go to the book. It didn't open till 12:30. We'll have to go to the bookstore because I have like a lot. I have a lot of books.
Okay.
So I purchased 3 books.
So maybe I need to come like look for a book to read at your house.
Yeah, when they're out of the boxes.
Right.
But I have I have like a lot of books.
Ooh.
Yeah, I sold
So do
some
I.
of them. Yeah, I like to own.
I
like
have
them.
my own library.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I like hardcover especially
Ooh,
too. So
okay.
anyway, but hard to find these days.
I feel like I'm really far ahead of you today. Like I'm looking
I
back
guess
at you.
the producer
Hopefully
hasn't
it's
said
okay.
anything. Yeah, I'm sitting back so I'm not screeching around on this seat.
No, I've got the seat this time.
Yeah, so we wanted these seats talks, not in a nice way.
Yeah.
So we're
It was
we're
the
not,
chair. It was the chair.
Yeah, we're not moving too much. So if we look a little bit stiff, because we don't. That's going to be the new game now.
It's like musical chairs.
Yeah,
Who has
literally.
the musical chair?
Yeah, right. Okay.
Sorry.
That's like this rhyme my grandmother used to say: "Beans, beans, the magical fruit."
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like when you sit on this chair.
The musical chair. All right, this is serious.
Whoa.
Okay.
Okay.
So I was, first of all, I just go to the section where it has the authors by name. So somebody recommended my next Lesley Crewe book. So I was in the Lesley Crewe book, which, by the way, the Spoon Stealer is now sold out.
Ooh.
So I was like,
Taking some credit there?
I don't know. I'm wondering if we've inspired some people to look, but maybe not. They didn't have that many,
I don't know.
but they
Maybe
restocked her shelf.
Maybe someday we can get a Fleece and Harmony picks.
Yeah,
There we go.
yeah.
There's a goal to aspire to.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly. So who the hell's Heather anyway?
So if you
Heather is the
go,
owner.
if you go to any of the local bookstores on PEI and you purchase a book that we encourage you to purchase, just drop the mention that you were inspired.
No, we're teasing.
Okay, truly.
So, yes.
On text.
So, so I bought 3 books. So one of them was the next Lesley Crewe book that I'm going to read. I think it's called The Recipe for Life or Recipe of Life or something. Anyway, it's one of her books, which my sister recommended be my next one. So or my mother. Anyway, everybody's on a Lesley Crewe kick because there's lots of them. The other one was they had the third Ken Follett book, which is Columns of Fire.
Column of Fire.
Column of
Yeah.
Fire. So I did get that, but I'm not going to start that yet because
Yeah.
that's another
Biggie.
Biggie. And then I found this slim little, which somehow, not because it's so beautiful, but the cover really it made
your
me look,
attention.
caught my attention. It's actually a beautiful painting of a bird, but the bird's dead. So I'm intrigued.
Why that is?
Yes, and the name of the book is Study for Obedience, and it's written by a woman called Sarah Bernstein, and I don't know if that's Stein or Steen. Anyway, so,
I think
Sarah.
that depends on where you're from.
Yeah.
Because the E comes
Steen?
before the I.
Okay, so that's Steen.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
only know that because my last name.
yes, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. You probably get a lot of confused
Steen?
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's from Montreal, but she lives in Scotland.
Oh,
So how? I mean, I had to have it.
Yeah.
So, and it says on the back, strange and beautiful. This is a unique novel that is primal and eerie, where language creates silence and vivid images reflect a kind of earthiness where our most intimate selves live. And it's absolutely correct. It is strange and beautiful. The writing is beautiful. We were talking about it a little bit before we started. I don't even know what it's about really yet. So I'm quite the way through. It's big print. It's not, it's a slim volume, I would say. And, but it's very entertaining to read. You she talk about breadcrumbs. She's an expert at that. And I was saying to Simone and Betsy, I said, it's amazing how, so if you play music, you can hear with your ear, if you've been taught enough or play music enough, you can hear with your ear the time signature of the piece, like 3/4, 4/4, 6/8, whatever. You get that. And when you play it, even though you're just playing notes on a page, the rhythm comes out because of the way that the music is written. This book is written like that. You read it with a certain cadence and rhythm because of the way that she's constructed this, like the actual physical construction of this, the sentences and her punctuation and everything. So it's interesting from just a kind of a study point of view. It's interesting, but it is a strange and weird book, but like you have to keep reading.
Okay,
you have to keep reading.
I like strange and weird sometimes.
Yeah. So it won a prize from Granta, which is, I think it's a publishing house in the UK, because a young best of young British novelist 2023. It also won a Giller Prize, which is the Scotiabank, a very prestigious writing prize in Canada, and it was shortlisted for the Booker Prize, which is a similar literary prize from the UK. So you can't go wrong, but these books tend to be a little bit haughty, like when they win these prizes. Sometimes, but it's so I can't. The only thing I can't really even tell you what it's about. It's a woman who's the youngest of her family, and it starts out by, she says that she spent her lifetime looking after her other siblings. So there's a big family, and then it's, because that's already kind of weird. So you're the youngest, but you're saying you spend a lifetime looking after the other siblings. That happens within the first couple pages, and I was like, what does she mean by that? So anyway, then it starts to reveal itself, and she writes it, and she'll go down a road, and then she'll say, okay, I've gone too far, I have to go back. So then she goes back again. And then she goes forward, and then she goes back again.
So little tendrils all over the place.
Yes, exactly.
I'm gonna have to read this one too.
Yeah, so she moves to look after her eldest brother.
Okay.
But yeah, that sort of makes sense with what she said before, but that's not your whole life. They had to get old before you could look after them. So I don't know. Anyway, so and we have no idea what he does, but he's got money.
Okay.
And she's we have no idea where she's been, and we have no real clear understanding of where the town is that they moved to.
Like this.
But she somehow the brother moves from where they live to where his ancestors are from, but you think you know what it is, and then the next paragraph that she dashes that idea, so that's not where they are. Okay. And so it's really like twisty, turny, and I'm pretty sure, and I even cheated and read the last page because I thought, well, let's see what's gonna, but that gives you nothing. So you're gonna have to go on the journey.
I actually sometimes, if I succumb to that and it gives me nothing, I get a little bit peeved. I'm like, oh, how dare they not give it all away on the last page? Yeah. Now I'm gonna have to actually dig through this book to find.
Yes,
this makes me think of the concert last night when they were introducing the song "Liar." He gave one truth and a whole string of lies that just got more and more elaborate before he introduced the song, right? So this kind of makes me think the kids' Valentine's Day concert.
Okay.
Yeah, so it makes me wonder if maybe she's a liar.
I don't know.
No.
I have no idea.
That would be an interesting concept for a book, though.
Yeah.
To write the whole thing as a big bunch of lies.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought that it was that
what hers might be.
This part was true.
What that was? No,
but that wasn't that.
But Oh, okay.
Anyway, it's very, very interesting. It's not difficult to read, but the language is very sophisticated. I would say the way she uses language is very sophisticated, and I can see why it would have piqued the interest of all of these committees and things like that. So
definitely one I can read, because it doesn't look like it would take too long.
No, there's not many words. Like, it's big print, and I think there's 150 pages.
Is there such thing as narrative poetry?
Sort of. That's exactly. And it has a distinct rhythm to it.
Okay.
Which is, because, even if you're reading in your head, you're reciting. It's not sort of like, even if your lips aren't moving. I don't.
My lips definitely move.
Do they?
Oh, yeah. Huge whisperer.
Oh, okay. No, you used to get in trouble if your lips were moving. And if a sound came out.
I do.
I know.
I still do sometimes.
Yeah. Anyway, I that's all I can say. I spent a long time telling you I have no idea what this book is about.
That's great, though.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah.
It means at some point it all has to come together. Otherwise, it would not have won awards.
Yes, exactly. So, but it's buried in there somewhere. I think it's kind of like you read the last sentence and then you go like back in your head and go, oh, okay.
One of those.
I think it's one of those.
I love those, though.
Yeah. Anyway, and I have no idea why there's a poor little dead bird on the book, but we'll find out. And study for obedience, not study of obedience, or not studying for obedience. It's study for obedience. Even that's a mystery.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
So that's stay tuned. I'll have it finished obviously by the next episode. Okay, and then Betsy's got 2 books.
I have 2 more. So I'm kind of going to do them a bit together because they're so very opposite to one another.
Yeah.
So the first one is called The Last Sin Eater by a novelist called Francine Rivers. She is, at one point in her life, she was a Harlequin romance writer.
Oh, okay.
But she has since shifted from that and actually writes a lot of... it would be Christian literature or Christian fiction. Christian fiction, that's the word I'm looking for. So she has done some other series. She started with one of her first series, was quite a significant one that took place during Roman times, the gladiators. I read that one when I was a teenager and I liked it. But this one out of hers kind of jumped out to me the most because it's kind of most unique. And it talked about, it incorporates a folklore tradition that I found really interesting. So the Sin Eater is a tradition that came out of Wales and Scotland that this one's happening at the 18th century, or not, sorry, 1850s, mid 1850s is when this story happens. So settlers come over from Scotland into the hills in the Smoky Mountains, and they kind of want to start fresh and move away from the old place and leave all that behind. But essentially what happens is they start this new community, and then just as sort of the head man or the leader that kind of was their protector dies, he insists that a sin eater be instilled back into the community.
I had never heard of this, but Simone knew about it. And,
so what a sin eater is they would draw lots, and all the young men from the community would have to draw lots, and whoever got the shortest stick or whatever, he became the sin eater. So it became his job or role to be separate from the community but live nearby, and whenever someone died, he would come to their funeral and he would have to eat bread and drink wine, and there would be a ceremony that he would, in theory, take on all of their evil deeds onto himself so that they would be free to enter heaven. And they believed that this was their entrance into heaven and their forgiveness and redemption for the life they'd lived. So the story is about this young girl named Caddy Forbes, or it could be Katie, but it's Cadi, and they're Scottish, so I assume it's Caddy. And it's her story of why she wants to go and find the Sin Eater. You're not supposed to associate with him. You're not supposed to talk to him at all, for sure. But she has a reason to go and find him. And so it is a really good story, but it's also really sad. I cried several times through it. But I will also just be very upfront. It is filled with significant biblical passages. So if that is not your cup of tea, that's
Did you
fine.
finish it?
I
You
did.
finished
Oh
it.
yeah.
Okay.
It's actually a reread from a long time ago. I went and bought the book again because I'd seen it and it reminded me of it. And I wanted to read it again.
Oh, okay.
So I think what really I appreciate about it is you really get transported to the Smoky Mountains, and you just want to shake your head sometimes and be like, what? Like, why do they cling to this when they came here to start fresh?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was
But
thinking.
it's kind of a story of how fear and guilt can make you grasp at anything to alleviate that in your life. So that's what these people are doing. They're just trying to alleviate so much guilt and so much fear, and because they've kept themselves secluded, and in that seclusion, they've actually, I think, hindered themselves. They've tried really hard to keep out the rest of the world, but then it's also kept out advanced learning and all the good stuff too as well. Yeah. So it's intriguing. So if you don't mind the fact that there is significant biblical passages in it, go ahead and give that one a try. And then on the complete opposite spectrum, I started The Mists of Avalon, which is a King Arthur story. And Simone is like, that's about as pagan as they come. So I'm kind of jumping all over the place right now. So this is a King Arthur story from the perspective of the females that were within his life. I don't know a whole lot about King Arthur himself. I've done a lot of reading in that time period, but not focused on the legend of him and the Knights of the Round Table. So I'm curious I'm not very far in. The first part is really because I'm being introduced to a whole new world. So names of places, people, locations, wars that are going on. I'm just still sorting out who's fighting who's in power, who's the threat. So it's all this, like, we're setting up basically an entire political
landscape.
Yeah, so I can know what's going on in the world.
You've read this one.
Yeah.
So it's interesting so far. The main lady is, oh my goodness.
Morgan Le Fay.
Yes. They don't say Morgan. They say
Morgan.
Oh, it looks like Morgane. So I was saying that, but it's just Morgan.
I guess. It depends.
Again.
Yep.
We've got names.
Depends upon the legend, right?
Okay.
And it's been 25 years.
Since this one.
Since I read that.
Yeah, okay. So I came to work the other day. I said to Simone, how do you say this? And I spelt out a name for her. And she's like, gave me a few suggestions. So I'm really having to, like, just look at the names and decide.
Because
Simone
would know.
Simone would know.
I'm Google.
Or actually, you know what it was? Because I've talked with you about the fact that you like fantasy and you've read from significant books from this genre.
Yeah.
That's why I made that assumption. I was digging into her experience that I knew she had.
Unlike me, who just randomly thinks of things and then expects her to know.
Ping, ping. Anyway, so I'm not very far in. I put this one aside to jump into The Spoon Stealer, so I will come back to this one, but I think this will be a slow read for me, and I think I will read some others along the way, just because it's text heavy. Like I said, lots of names, and I need to know what's going on, because it's going to matter. If I miss details, it'll matter.
What I like about this book in particular is it's a different spin on the Arthurian legends.
Okay.
And normally Morgan or Morgane is portrayed as, like, wicked and bad.
That's what I thought.
You know, and in this one, she's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm doing this in the wrong order, or maybe I'm doing it in the right order.
I think you're doing
because
it in the
I think
right
for
order.
me,
It's
this will
interesting.
become the Arthur legend, and then everything else will be like, oh, maybe that's your version of it, but this is the version I will know. So,
okay, cool.
Which, I kind of like the idea of knowing it from the female perspective.
Yeah.
A little bit female, go.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
We might have had a moment like that this week, didn't we?
Yes. I forget what it was now.
I don't know, but it was like
woman power.
Woman power.
I remember saying that and growled a little bit.
Oh, it was really funny. I love it.
We're getting to wrap it up, folks.
From the man.
It's also lunchtime soon, too.
Yeah, it's past lunchtime, actually.
Okay.
All right. So thanks for staying with us for another episode. And you really got a whole mixed bag this time.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I can actually hardly wait for the next 2 weeks to see how it all resolves.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys feel the same.
Yeah.
So have a great 2 weeks and happy reading, everybody. Bye.